Hello world, WayofTime here, bringing to you another episode of EEPower. So as you can see right away, there has been a bit of remodeling on this base. Well, not remodeling, more like building up and up and up. So I'm attempting to slowly but surely make this base as tall as I can, so that I'll be able to get as many different things. I want everything basically to be in this base. However, there's obviously going to be a few things I'm going to need to be very sneaky about, and that is unfortunately going to have to come later because there are a few things I want to do in this episode, which I'm going to have to start soon. So, as you can see, we have the other four nodes that are currently being merged on top of this floor, and I marked their areas with smooth stone just in case I need to replace them. However, I've AFK'd like a night or two, and we got a pretty decent sized node. The aqua is quite big. However, it does still need to have, well, a lot. I want this to be the mega node. However, we do have a bit of power here, and frankly, actually, this power here is what I'm going to want to manipulate this episode. So, last episode we managed to figure out how to get a lot of ethereal essences, and that's good and everything. However, we're going to need to start utilizing them. Now, obviously, shoving the stuff into this alchemical furnace is what we're going to ultimately need to do. However, there are a few finer points and intricacies that we're going to need to consider, i.e., what are we going to do with the stuff afterwards? I don't feel like a big jar enclosure is something we're going to necessarily want to do. So what I'm thinking is that we'll look at the essentia crystallization process. This thing requires me to basically use some balanced shards, dispenser, etc. But again, I'll get an essentia crystallizer out of it. So what this does is it crystallizes stuff that's from the Arcane Alembic network, and then basically allows us to get a crystallized shard out of it. So instead of, well, basically, it's trading this physical form of essence to another physical form of essence. However, we will basically be able to store it in inventory slots instead of having to have large and unwieldy constructs for jars, etc. So let's actually start working on this. We're going to need to make this. However, there is one thing that I am going to unfortunately need, and that is a bit of gold because we are out of gold. Now, thankfully, I did do a bit of fun stuff. Let's see, let's get the ME terminal network stuff out of the way. Actually, let's figure out, where do we want this temporary enclosure? Yeah, let's set this up so that it's at least semi-sane. So we're going to want this, and we're going to want this to go to our energy acceptor, basically the same construct we've been doing. Then we'll have our ME glass, and then our monitor there. Now we'll be able to access the network, etc. However, obviously this is not, obviously this isn't what we really want. What we want is to have something that will be able to access while not being there. Who would have thought that this stuff would be so unwieldy? Place, and we're going to want the disk drive here. Okay, now I need to edit this so that it's in and out only when there's a signal, and then we'll get a pressure plate, which will just require 2 smooth stone. So this will only give power when there's a redstone signal. So let's actually get our ME storage cell. Put this obviously on a block that will accept that. So now I'm here and it's active. Throw this in. There we go. Get away. And then slowly this energy acceptor will drain its power. Or rather, this will drain the power, and then it should turn off. Eventually. Take your time. It's not drawing energy, so that's the main thing. Okay, so what did I need from here? I needed my gold, and then we'll shove that back in the system. Thankfully, we do have a stack of redstone. I can't just fly out of here. Okay, so the journey is going to be a bit longer than normal, but oh well. Oh, great. The type of copper that it makes has changed yet again. Woohoo! Now I have 3 types of copper. Isn't that wonderful? Actually, I think I used the IC2 copper I was using earlier, so that's good. Making sure that the mic isn't muted because that would have sucked. Okay, so thankfully we do have this little thing right here, so we don't have to work as hard to make everything that we want. However, we will need to make a few V's filters. Wait, isn't this how we make the V filters? Did that change? No, I was pretty sure that's how. V filter, selecting, or do I have to regularly craft them? That's very odd. Okay, I'm mightily confused right now, actually. Oh, we use silverwood planks now? That's an interesting balance change. When did that change? Well, it's appreciated. It just caught me off guard, frankly. Okay, so charging that up. At least they do look kind of cool. Maybe I can have a mystical area that's built with them, though they aren't. Well, these textures are from the Thaumcraft 2 totems that were happening. Wow, I am horrible at English today. And now we use a Quicksilver drop. That's welcome as well. And we also use a gold nugget instead of gold ingot. Okay, these are some interesting changes that I've actually never experienced before. However, it does mean that I actually have to look for Sigh. I always misplace those stuff. Okay, so it's only costly in terms of iron and glass, and even then I wouldn't really consider that costly. It just takes a bit of time to get all that. Okay, so I got the essentia stuff. Now I need to make the valves, which is easy enough. Yoink. Okay, so bring these together. I'm making sure that I'm trying to do this all on memory. It would be lovely if there was actually some sort of, what's the word? Method of automation of these types of things. Though, considering, I guess it's not a necessary thing for there to be automation in regards to this structure. However, it is something that I'd like to actually have. So, we need a dispenser. Like so. And we already have some planks, so might as well use those. Use an alchemical construct, balanced shards. This, and what is this? Nitor? I want to say Nitor. No, it's an essentia tube. So, 1 essentia tube. And then we have an essentia crystallizer. Checking power. Power is good. That is A-okay. Now we need to actually utilize this. So how we utilize it is simply by getting essentia from this thing. Let's get this out of the way. And bring this. And actually this would be a very slow thing, but whatever. Let's put that there. Oh, it doesn't actually matter. So I'm inclined, therefore, put this like here. That looks interesting, at least. I don't know how functional it will be, so let's actually have it functionally like this. Okay, so here's our crystallizer. Now we're going to need to power this. I'm getting ahead of myself. Powering it? Why would we want to power it? That is something that we want to discuss in a second. Okay, so we have all of our alembics. Now what we'd want to do is let's use ethereal essence of fire type. So we'll throw it into here. It'll burn 1 piece of coal, so we're going to be very bad with this. And now you can see that it is slowly spinning and slowly attempting to crystallize. Now this is good and bad. Good in the sense that it is crystallizing. Bad in the sense that it looks like it's taking an ungodly amount of time. Time is of the essence. Haha. So we're going to actually try to make this a bit faster. Now one thing that we can do is send power to this. So let's check it. Ejects the crystals into the world or into a container. So container is going to need to be a chest of some description. So let's get some chest material. Might as well make it a regular chest. The lag. The lag is a real one in this one. And, ooh, here we go. Wonder if it goes into here. Okay, so let's check our light levels. F7, right? And we're good. Okay, so we got a crystallized essence. Now, I want to scan this so that we'll be able to shift-click and be able to tell what actually is constituted in this. Crystallized essence. Nothing can be learned from this. I guess that should have been realized. So this is 1 Ignis. So theoretically, if I shove this back into here, I should be able to melt this down into 1 Ignis. Or if I'm a boss and throw this in, I should get 1 Ignis, which in fact I do. Now unfortunately this is going to make a bit of taint, but oh well, c'est la vie and all that. And it's taking Orm. Ooh, that means that this actually injects to the front, right? It might be, might as well attempt that. So it took quite a bit of time to actually crystallize it, and having it crystallized in that long duration is not something that I quite like. So if I actually read the bloody thing, draws liquid essence, supply it with Terra V will greatly increase its speed. Okay, so that means we just need to supply it with Terra V. How we do that should be easy enough and should be obvious. We'll actually make one of these V relays so that we can bring it across the base. That'll require 1 balanced shard and a bit of iron ingots. And V relay. Okay, so it made the fire and already shoved it out. Okay, so how are we... I mean, what is the distance for this? If I throw this, it does make it. Good. If I throw it over here, will it make it? Yes, it does. So if I throw this here, it does make it all the way over here. So now we see that it is receiving green, so it is receiving terre, so that means that whenever it is within range, when this is within range of an energized V relay, then it is getting the power. So that is good. And that is confusing. Okay, so we got... Okay, I'm actually confused. Oh, we shoved 2 of those. Okay, I was surprised. I thought we only shoved 1 of those things in here. So, with all of that said, that means that if we were to shove this in here, it'll burn all of it up into the various different types. So we have Examinus, etc. Now we have Perdito, and this will slowly increase in speed, etc., etc. And now it is working. Good. So one way we can actually speed this up is perhaps, and this isn't actually a perhaps, this is I'm pretty dang sure, why don't we do this? We could probably have a bunch of them lined up right so, and basically get all that we need. Examinus. So basically array these in some sort. However, we do have an issue because the essentia tube network is an interesting thing because of all the flowing. So let me set my mind at ease, then I can talk a bit about how this network actually works, even though it's not much of a network, but we're actually going to need 1 item to determine that, so I want to be able to craft it ahead of time. So the essentia network follows an interesting pattern. Now, it follows such a pattern that I'm actually gathering the wrong tool. That is quite embarrassing. So it doesn't actually get as much bang for the buck that I wanted it to because, well, I am a complete derp and am unable to make basic things without actually figuring out what the heck I'm making. Here we go. Didn't need as nearly much quartz as I thought I did. However, it does kind of defeat the purpose of me getting this stuff ahead of time, and now I'm just babbling like a lunatic. But anyway, so the essentia network is interesting in how it actually works. So it doesn't actually flow in the same way that pipes flow. There's actually a pressure. So we can see that there's actually, sorry, pressure is the wrong way. Suction. So this device has a 64 suction that does not rely on any sort of type. And we're slowly making all of these crystallized essences, so I'm kind of happy about that. So you can see there's a 64 suction on this device. Now, it's sucking from somewhere, so it has to figure out where to do it. It goes here, and then the next one, it is 63 because it is one away from this block. So you can see there's actually now, yeah, there was 91 suction. However, I'm not sure why that is. But you can see that there's 10 already stuck in there anyways. So the further you go out, the less suction it has. That should be obvious because it's further and further away. Now it seems when there's actually nothing in this device, it has a much higher suction value to try to grab it from different areas. So that's actually an interesting property, so it does tell us a bunch of other things. However, that's probably an idea I need to float around at another time since we're not actually working too much on this. So basically, lower suction goes to higher suction. Everything's happy until you have types of suction, which we're not going to get into today because we're not going to deal too much with this network system. Okay, so what do I have in here? Only a bunch of quartz, some amber. I wish I could shift click while in here so that, oh, I can. Okay, just didn't actually scan amber. That seems like something I need to remedy. Okay, let's shift gears slightly because I want to see what we can do with this redstone, iron, gold, etc. now that we actually have acquired some. I believe I do have a lot of iron back at the base. So what I want to do is mess a bit, at least get the starting things needed for salination. Well, salination is something that is going to be required for 4x ore processing. Now, it's not something that I can just set up in this area because, quite frankly, it is, well, kind of cramped and kind of all over the place. I mean, look at this thing. It's going haywire. Is this even connected? Yeah, it should be connected with energy. However, anyways, it's just something that's going and going and going. Anyways, so we're going to need to figure out something that goes before the purification chamber to allow for X ore processing. So if we check iron, once again, we can see that the clumps are the things that we get for 3x ore processing. However, what we need are iron shards to be able to catapult into our 4x ore processing. Well, 4x ore processing, 3x ore processing, blah, 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 blah. Wow, I'm saying a lot of things. And then we have iron crystals, but that's something very far. So we're going to need hydrogen chloride to be able to do this. And that requires a chemical infusion with hydrogen and chlorine to make it. Now, if I remember correctly, yes. Well, that works. PRC, our condenser. That is actually curious. I think it has changed slightly from what I used to do. So we have hydrogen chlorine, and we can actually get it from salt. How much can we get it from salt? Anyways, chemical injection chamber. Chemical injection chamber, if I remember correctly, chemical oxidizer, infuser, washer, crystallizer is the injection chamber. Yes. Nope. No, definitely not something that we're going to be able to do right now because we don't have diamonds. Cuss you, diamonds and your diamondness. I mean, it's really annoying not having diamonds. Now, we are low in oil, so what I'm thinking, instead of going for the Well, we could set up everything needed for the production of the chemical. I need to do a bit of research, and then I'll decide whether I actually want to start with that right now or wait for some diamond stockpile to magically appear, which frankly is not going to happen anytime soon. So if we take brine, we can get sodium and chlorine. However, we need hydrogen and chlorine to be able to make our hydrogen chloride. And that, well, hydrogen is obvious. We need to use water to separate oxygen and hydrogen to be able to get it, which requires quite a bit of energy. So originally, brine decomposed into the two requisite things that were basically needed to make, well, the shards. However, that has changed in recent versions, or I haven't actually played with it recent enough to be able to tell. So that's actually going to throw a wrench in my plans because I thought it was a few simple machines, and it doesn't matter in any case because I don't really have the tech. Well, I have everything else, it's just the diamonds, redstone, etc. that I am lacking in quite high quantities. So one thing that I'd like to do is get teleposers. Now teleposers are an invention in blood magic that I'm quite happy with. However, it does require extensive amounts of ender pearls to be able to do. Now there are a few things that we need. Short range telepad. No, not what we're going to need. Okay, so I want to construct a teleposer. However, we're going to need a total of 7 ender pearls to be able to do it. So there are a few options. Either 1, I go out to find some dungeons, or 2, I stay up countless nights for a bunch of ender pearl fighting. Sorry, enderman farting. Enderman farting. Yes, that's something we want to see. Wow, so many pirate tips. It's like this world is saying, make a cursed earth farm. Make a cursed earth farm. You know you want to. Actually, now that I think of it, do I have what I need to make what I need? Hold on a tick. Okay, the night is coming. However, it seems like we're going to miss this night. I got a few things that I'm going to want to make before, because quite frankly, well, let's just say it would be nice to be able to make the experience. Yes, I need to be able to easily make a bunch of experience related things. However, with the the hell, did I just get trapped in a wall or something? However, with my current paradigm, it is kind of not likely to happen. So what I want to do is make an experience tank. However, what I need to do with that is get a lot of obsidian. So I need to basically get a bunch of obsidian. Okay, 20 obsidian, here we go. And it seems... Dang it, we just missed what I was gonna have to do, so I'm gonna have to wait for 20 minutes after I do this, obviously, because this is something that's going to be, well, pretty quick, honestly. Okay, so I'm gonna need to might as well use some of this. I'm gonna need to make some glass panes, and you can probably tell what I wanted to make already, but might as well spell it out. Gotta make some tanks, and now there's one more thing I need to get, and that is a grate. Well, one more thing. Actually, is there a grate? No, drain. It's called a drain, right? Experience drain. Here we go. So that requires 9 iron bars. I don't think we have any iron bars in our possession. However, making that should be an easy enough endeavor. I can throw those away, can throw those away. That's assuming I can actually find my bloody iron. Well, there we go. That wasn't so bad. So some of this, and some of this. Blam. And we got our experience drain. Now there's one other thing I want to make, and that is an auto enchanting table. So that just requires an enchanting table and a few other miscellaneous things. Well, that's still going, so that's going to take a while. And basically these 9 tanks are going to just be the introductory ones. I'm going to eventually have more tanks. However, just having these is going to be enough for me. Might as well put 10 tanks now that I think of it. Put one here as well, and that just requires me to put this here. There we go. And we'll basically show what this does. So if we put our experience drain here, as the name suggests, it'll drain all the experience from us. And you can see we now have 347 millibuckets inside this tank. Now I did hear that open block tanks can be a bit laggy, so I'm going to need to look into that. Now we then want to take this and get our auto enchantment table. This auto enchantment table will siphon LP. I was about to say LP. Will siphon a bit from the tank to fill its reservoirs if we set it to auto drink. And auto drink it shall, and you can see that it's slowly raising the amount that it needs. However, since there's not much in this tank, nothing really can happen. You can see there's like 4 here, 2 there, 3 over there. Not something that we're going to want in the long-term scheme of things, and we're going to want to cover that bottom because frankly it's kind of annoying. Now how do we raise this? We kill a few animals, which is always helpful. Now there is one more thing that I'm going to want to do this episode, and I think this is how I'll end it. I want to make some cursed earth. However, obviously we're not going to be able to harvest the cursed earth because cursed earth requires a silk touch shovel in order to harvest it. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to make a silk touch shovel right now because I don't have the ingredients to make it, and I don't have enough string for a silky gem either for Tinker's Construct stuff, and I think it'd be a little daft to go in that entire tech line just to get some Tinker stuff, so I think, silk touch. It doesn't look like anything short of a Vajra will have it, and Vajras are not able to get it, and you need a golden pick. Okay, let's, I'm gonna gather some more experience through my normal methods. Let the animals hit the floor, and then I will be right back when I'm about to do a bit of sacrificing. Okay, it's a bit early for what I want to do, however, we might as well get everything needed. Now what I'm going to do is somewhat of a rite of summoning. If we check Divination Sigil, you must perform activation ritual, sneak right click. You can see altar does not have redstone circle, too early, sacrifice must be made at midnight, but I can see the moon, has sufficient natural earth, and it is in darkness. So basically I'm going to make some form of arcane ritual that'll basically be able to activate the sigil. Now I believe I just need to have it in my hand. Now I did also pick up a safari net from one of the dungeons that I saw. Actually, I think it was one of the nearer ones. But yeah, so I'll just have the safari net ready for use. And I'm thinking that I actually won't need that, so I might as well... don't need that. Got that. I might as well, let's see. I am pretty sure I just need to use this on my... use this while it's in my inventory. Don't think I'll actually need to do a live sacrifice like while this thing is on top of it. However, I might be wrong in that regard, so I'm gonna wait for it to be midnight. Hopefully that comes soon enough, and then we'll get this party started because it's gonna be a fun party. Would you like to be a sacrifice, Governor? Would you? Your health seems unnaturally high with the base amount. I'm kind of curious why that might be. Maybe extra 2 utilities makes... I actually have no clue. Maybe it's just gonna ramp it up when I do the sacrifice. However, not gonna happen with this zombie since I am going to kill him very soon. However, I guess I'm beating around the bush right now because, well, can't really do anything since it's not midnight. Come on, midnight. You're leaving me hanging, brother. Must say, it's not really as impressive as a blood magic altar. I really hate saying it like that, but whatever. Nag, nag, brag, brag. But I guess it gets the point across. Well, considering that the mod that I made is built around altars. Hey, look, you summoned a buddy of yours. Isn't that cute? Oh, that's so cute of you. Too early, sacrifice must be made at midnight, not even midnight. And here I am just beating around the bush, just playing zombie tag with these two zombie brethren. Oh, now it's time. Okay, there we go. Now this is party time, and I am on fire. Oh, God. And I actually don't have as much armor as I thought I did. Okay, so now the area is good. However, it is going to be worse because they are fast as all hell, and I actually don't have... Is this activated? It is activated. Okay, let me get out of here. Now, why... Oh, my God. Oh, my God, 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 oh, my God. Oh, my God. What I was actually going to do is eat, but obviously that wasn't going to happen. Why are you on fire? Oh, no. No, why are you on fire? Why are you on fire? I don't want you to be on fire. Damn it. Okay, is there enough time? Fudge. These guys are too fast for my liking. And they are playing a bit of... I don't want to play Telecreeper tag right now. Get away from me. Okay, get you out of the way. Get you out of the way. And we need to save some of this cursed earth. Okay, so let's just set away the fire. I think it's because it's light that it's catching on fire. That might be the reason for this occurrence. Need to save as much of this as possible. It's just catching on fire randomly now, which I don't like. Fudge. Get out of my way. You're not on fire. There we go. Okay, so we got at least one piece saved. Though it seems everything else is gone. Nope, actually, we got a bit more that we are able to save. Get out of here. No one wants you. Why are you catching on fire? Is it because you... it might be because it can see direct daylight. If that's the case, it might be a bit annoying. So what I'm doing is basically placing dark boxes around all the bits of cursed earth that I am able to procure. And the reason I'm doing this is so that it doesn't actually catch fire when the real day comes. However, it seems like the real day is coming a little too soon for everybody's liking. Mostly mine, and that sheep's. Huh. That seems sucky, doesn't it? Okay, just gonna put that. Don't have enough blocks to save any more pieces, so I guess I'm gonna have to let that go. However, I did manage to get one good thing out of it. One, I managed to get an activation sigil. I suppose a zombie head is nice and everything, though not exactly useful in my current state of affairs. However, the main thing is that I have cursed earth ready for when I actually have a silk touch shovel. That's gonna come, like, if I try shoveling it right now. I'm just gonna shovel it, basically. So, I'm gonna have to wait for a silk touch shovel to be able to present itself to me. Is it catching fire in here? No, it isn't. It's actually flourishing. So that is good. How much LP do I currently have? Okay, 44,000. That's not bad. Okay, so let's go back here. I think we got everything. Might as well put this activation sigil in a safe place and add a bit more to our experience hoard. Now, it's kind of sucky that it just burst on fire when it was in natural moonlight. I mean, I get it when it's sunlight that it catches on fire. But moonlight is like, BAM! Well, that's all the time we have for this episode of EEPower. If you like what you see, don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe to future episodes. I'm going to try to get some more uses out of this, but judging by the fact that we have a stack of Tutamen, that's good. Not sure what I'm going to use the Panem for, or the Beastia. I might want to make actual dedicated systems, because this is good and everything, though it's not going to help us really. WayofTime here, signing off. Have a wonderful day.